Today, we're doing something a little different. This right here is the iPhone 10. And can you believe this thing is nearly 8 years old? That's right. It launched back in 2017, and now it's 2025. Time seriously flies. So I thought, why not bring it back and see how it holds up today? We're going to take a look at the iPhone X in 2025, how it performs in daily use, whether it's still worth using as a main phone, or if it makes more sense as a secondary device for basic tasks like messaging, calls, or music. Let's take a quick step back. For anyone who wasn't really following tech in 2017, the iPhone X was a massive deal. Apple launched it alongside the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, but this was the future. It said goodbye to bezels and the home button, and hello to that all-screen design. We got a beautiful 5.8-inch OLED panel. Apple called it the Super Retina display. Vibrant colors, deep blacks, and sharp visuals for the time. And of course, the notch, love it or hate it, it was iconic. That's where Face ID lived, replacing Touch ID entirely. Then there was the new gesture-based navigation. No more home button, just swipes. It changed how people used an iPhone completely. Now fast forward to today. Holding it in 2025 feels different. There's definitely some nostalgia here, but the question is, how well does it actually hold up day to day in 2025? Let's break it down. Let's start with the obvious, the design. Even in 2025, the iPhone X still feels surprisingly premium. The stainless steel frame and glass back give it that flagship feel. Sure, the bezels around the screen are a bit chunky by today's standards, and the notch? Yeah, it's definitely noticeable. But honestly, it feels kind of nostalgic now. A little throwback to when the all-screen iPhone was still new. Now, about the display, it's a 5.8-inch OLED panel, and to be honest, it still holds up well. Colors are punchy, blacks are deep, and videos still look solid. Of course, there's no 120Hz promotion here, so scrolling and animations don't feel as smooth, but for casual use and content viewing, it's totally fine. And that screen size? It actually feels compact in today's world of massive phones. You can still comfortably use it with one hand, and that's rare in 2025. Alright, let's talk performance. And here's where reality starts to hit. The iPhone X is powered by the A11 Bionic chip, which was blazing fast back in 2017. But here in 2025, yeah, it's definitely starting to show its age. For basic tasks like browsing, checking emails, and scrolling through social media, it still holds up okay. Navigating the OS is relatively smooth, most of the time. But once you start pushing it, that's where things get rough. App load times are slower, multitasking can feel laggy, and forget about playing any of the latest high-end games. It's pretty much a lag fest. Even older games might need you to drop settings to run halfway decent. Then there's the software situation. The iPhone X capped out at iOS 16, so no more official updates. That means no iOS 17 or 18, no new features, and most importantly, no security updates. Some apps are already starting to feel out of sync or partially unsupported. It's not completely unusable, but if you're expecting modern-day performance, you're going to bump into its limits real fast. Now let's talk about the battery. And yeah, this is where the iPhone X really struggles in 2025. Even when it was brand new, battery life wasn't exactly its strong point. Fast forward 8 years, and it's honestly the weakest part of using this phone today. Most units out there have seen serious battery degradation, and you can definitely feel it. On a very light day, and I mean just texting, checking email, maybe a bit of YouTube, you might squeeze out 3 to 4 hours of screen on time. That's being generous. If you're actually trying to use it for normal stuff, good luck. You'll be reaching for a charger way too often. This makes it a tough sell as a daily driver, unless you're always near a plug or carrying a power bank. Real talk, the battery life in 2025 is painful, and it's easily the biggest downside of keeping this phone around. The iPhone X had a pretty solid camera setup for its time. Dual 12-megapixel sensors with wide and telephoto lenses, plus portrait mode that was pretty impressive back in the day. Fast forward to 2025, and yeah, it's definitely showing its age. In good lighting, especially outdoors, you can still get decent photos. The colors look fine, and detail is passable. But compare it to any modern smartphone and the gaps are obvious. Night mode? Basically non-existent. Low-light shots come out grainy, soft, and noisy. Zooming in? The digital zoom quickly falls apart. And while you can record up to 4K at 60 frames per second, video stabilization just doesn't compete with today's phones. For quick snaps or social media posts in daylight, it'll get the job done. But if you're even a little bit serious about mobile photography, the iPhone 10 in 2025 will leave you wanting more. So yeah, it's slower, the battery life is rough, and the camera's outdated. So why even talk about this phone in 2025? Because there's a certain charm to it. Pulling out the iPhone X feels like holding a tech time capsule. iOS 16 is clean and minimal, without the overload of AI features or dynamic extras. For basic tasks, a gym music player, a backup device, or even a minimalist phone for calls and texts, the iPhone X still works. It's not a powerhouse, but it's a reminder of a turning point in smartphone history. And for some, that nostalgic joy is worth something. All right, let's lay it all out. The downsides of using an iPhone X in 2025 are hard to ignore. You've got outdated performance. It's noticeably slower than modern phones, and when it comes to demanding apps or games, forget about it. You're also stuck on iOS 16, which means no new features, no more security updates, and some newer apps may already be dropping compatibility. Then there's the battery life, easily the biggest deal breaker. After 8 years, even with a battery replacement, it's hard to get through half a day without reaching for a charger. Camera? It was solid for 2017, but in 2025, it's clearly behind, especially in low light or when zooming. No night mode, no cinematic features, and the image processing just doesn't compare. Oh, and no 5G. You're stuck with LTE, which is fine for light browsing, but noticeably slower compared to current standards. Also, the lack of a high refresh rate display means scrolling and animations feel sluggish next to today's 90 Hz or 120 Hz screens. So, should you buy an iPhone 10 in 2025? As your main phone? Honestly, no, unless you're extremely budget constrained and only need it for calls, texts, and very light browsing. And even then, you'll need to be okay with constantly charging it. There are better, more modern budget options available now. But as a secondary phone, maybe. If you want a dedicated music player, podcast device, or a cheap backup phone, and you can find it for dirt cheap, sure, it could work. There's even a little retro cool factor going on. It still handles the basics. Realistically, though, for most people, the iPhone X in 2025 is just too outdated to be practical for everyday life. Tech has moved on. Faster chips, better batteries, improved cameras, smarter software. Back in 2017, the iPhone X was revolutionary. It changed the game. Today, it's a charming piece of tech history, fun to revisit, but not something you should rely on. Let me know in the comments. Did you ever use an iPhone 10? Would you rock one in 2025? Like and subscribe for more tech deep dives.